Comic Collector actually has two very good questions here. Number one, you've said before, how much money did Paulie stiff you on?
$144,416 or $18. And a big chunk of that, so well over half, was money, not the money that I was owed. It was money that I'd spent out of pocket to run shows in Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Now, my stupid move, but if we had spent $5,000 for TV commercials and you didn't have the commercial into the traffic department 24 hours before, you paid $5,000 for nothing. So we'd already paid the $5,000 for that, and it was either let that money just flush down the drain, or my brother-in-law's brother owns a video production company, does commercials and things like that. So I would go there and do it, and then send the bill to Paul, or I would pay the bill and then send it to Paul. So a lot of that money was money, for newspaper articles, or advertisements, radio, television, and a whole slew of other things that we would do to promote, and never got reimbursed for those. And I've maintained I wasn't the only one. Pretty much everybody got taken on money there. And that was the one thing that none of us deserved. As hard as we'd worked for ECW, for Paul and ECW, when the ship started to take on water, to me, he had a professional responsibility to let us know so we could protect our families. And he didn't do that. So again, it's like one of those things, the black eye that I think will always be his. And it's a shame epitaph to what was an amazing, almost mythical time in wrestling, that we pulled off something that is so unlikely to succeed and audacious in its approach, and yet did. And but for the fans out there that still chant ECW, I hope all of you realize how much that means to us. Because that means that we definitely did get into the zeitgeist, right? We had changed it just for that period of time enough to be remembered. And it's nobody deserved that as hard as everybody worked. Nobody was lazy at ECW.
Now, I'm interested in this as far as, is there no legal recourse for you, or wasn't at the time, because Paul had declared bankruptcy, or ECW had declared bankruptcy, so it's just tough. That's it.
Yeah, I had Paul sign a promissory note that he owed me that money, not the company, signed by him. That this was not ECW, it was Paul Heyman personally owed me this money. And I could have pursued it afterwards, even after the bankruptcy. The bankruptcy would have given him some cover and most likely would have gotten a sympathetic jury. Well, this has already been handled over there. And so there's a question to me of, do I spend a couple $100,000, after already losing $144,000, and it just to me seemed a lot better, safer for my family to just say, well, screw it and move on.
Did you have no legal recourse against WWE, who ended up buying ECW? Presumably they didn't buy ECW's debts because ECW declared bankruptcy, but could you not go through WWE to be compensated in that sense?
Well, that's an interesting question, because the analogy would be, if I buy your car, you give me the keys, you give me the title, and I've given you 10% of the money. And I take the car tomorrow and sell it for more, and then I keep the money. Well, is that legal? Yeah, if I got the title, I could legally sell it to somebody, but I've not made you whole yet. So with my understanding from my attorneys was that Vince can't take the footage, or I keep saying Vince, WWE can't take the footage and say, well, the footage we used were the weeks that you were paid. Whether you can even discern that or not would be questionable, but until all the money is paid up, you're still in arrears. And because we were all owed so much money from there, it's questionable to me and to my attorneys does the bankruptcy court have the right to sell that footage in bankruptcy when you were never fully? It'd be like, again, if I bought your car and we declare bankruptcy, whoops, now that car's part of the bankruptcy, you've been screwed, never been made. It wasn't my car really for them to take. So same thing with the footage. And I think now it's certainly statute of limitations on it. But the fact that, and I'd be curious to talk to my friends from ECW, I have never received one red cent for anything from ECW from the time of the bankruptcy. And I'm sure they've made some kind of money with it. So I don't know how in a bankruptcy court your rights get usurped. It's again, like, your car, well, sorry, bankruptcy court has it now. So, and I think for me, it's been more getting to that older wisdom of, the yin and the yang. So, if not for ECW, and it certainly wasn't savory what happened at the end, but if not for ECW, my biggest claim to fame would have been being Ricky Steamboat's partner. I would have been fine with that. But the fact that we have this podcast that anybody cares to listen, I think it's based in large part off that character from ECW. So, the good and the bad, there's always two sides of the coin. And I think as you get older, you get a little bit better or a little bit wiser on how to pick and choose your fights.